Hey, girlfriend, welcome back. And thank you for listening to another episode of Girlfriend Let Me Tell You the podcast because I have something to say. I'm your host, Latasha, and today I want to talk about how some women go out of their way to make their child's dad seem worse than he really is. Y'all, excuse my voice. For those of you who have heard me talk before, for some reason, whenever I get on the podcast, my voice starts to dry out and it gets crackly and it gets scratchy. So it's just happening in the beginning of this episode, but it was going to happen sooner or later anyway. So this is my recording voice, which is interesting because if you meet me in person, this is not what I sound like. Anyway, today we're going to talk about the title, which is Worst Baby Daddy Contest. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I try to share stories and things with y'all, telling y'all how my son's dad and I have what I like to think is a healthy co parenting relationship, which means we get along enough that we don't have to worry about arguing. We can get our points across. We can call or text each other. We're good in a sense, right? But my son is 16 years old now. So everything that happened between his dad and I, as far as parenting, did not start off smoothly. So this is something that we have progressed towards, something we have worked towards, and something that we ultimately are being successful at. Okay. But whenever I'm on social media, I see things that encourages other women to make their child's father seem bad, or if they have more than one child's father or one more than one father to their children, they feel like they have to share these stories to make their child's father sound bad. And the problem with that I have with that is people already think that single mothers can't keep a man. That's why they're single mothers. They already have this stereotype about us. They already have this image or this persona that they want to put on us because we're single mothers. And then to be a single black mother, oh, there's so much on the internet about what's wrong with us. So whenever I see social media posts that are talking about, um, they might ask questions like, um, how often does your child's dad visit? When's the last time he bought your child a present? And see, that's the type of question that will trigger someone to be like, oh, I got a story. And then it starts this cycle. And you will see hundreds of comments. You will see so many people have shared it. And there's so many people who are responding on the new posts that have been shared also. But see, that just makes other people want to jump on the bandwagon of my child's father is worse than your child's father. And it doesn't even have to be true. That's why I say it's a contest that people don't even know they have entered. It's just, oh, I'm going to leave a comment. And then you get a notification, and somebody else's comment sounds a little worse than yours. So now you have to put something up there. So these people on social media are encouraging it. Now, I used to get trapped in that, but this is when my son was younger. And even though I was getting over some things that his dad and I had gone through, it was easy for me to say, "Ugh, I got a story worse than that." And I would put it on there. Now I haven't done that in a few years. I don't even know where those posts are, and they don't even come up on my memories. So I don't know where they are. But it's so easy to want to be a part of that, that everybody wants to join the crowd. Everybody wants to share a story or they want to read a story, or sometimes people go on there just so they can be the person in the comments telling them how bad it sounds or how it should have been better, or they want to put their 2 cents in to tear down your child's father or your children's fathers. But that just draws people into it to make these men sound bad. Now, I'm not saying there aren't any men out there who are not good fathers. I'm just saying that a lot of attention is being given to what women say that men are not doing, or whatever they say makes them seem like a poor father or a poor excuse of a father. Okay. So something else I want to say is, since I've been a mother for 16 years, the relationship between my son's dad and I has greatly improved. Okay. That's why I started the podcast 4 years ago, telling y'all how things were and how they were getting better. And now they are better. Okay. In 4 years, they have gotten better. And I think the improvement of the co parenting relationships is if the mother and the father are trying, even if they're given the bare minimum, if they are trying and then they try a little more and try a little more, it gets easier as the child gets older. A lot of the stress levels disappear or they lessen. So you don't have so much to worry about because now your child has gained some independence. They have friends. They have a mind of their own where they're building or growing this mind of their own. They're exploring more, which means the parents don't have to be as hands on as they were when they had an infant, a toddler, elementary school child trying to figure themselves out. Some of that stuff just kind of lessens, it mellows out. Hey, real quick, are you enjoying the episode so far? I surely hope so. I want to remind you that all of the details for this episode are down below in the show notes, so do not forget to check that out. And also, I want to remind you that you can go ahead and sign up to be a part of my emailing list. I have so many great things coming up this season, and I want you to be a part of it. So, look in the show notes below, leave a comment on how you like this episode, and I hope to hear from you all soon. Enjoy the rest of the episode. So much easier because the stress isn't there. It's not there as heavily. Let me say that it's not there as heavily. No matter what kind of relationship you're trying to build with anyone, to know that there's a mellow spot that makes everything a whole lot easier. Okay. So I feel like as your child gets older, your co parenting relationship should improve over the years. Now, I can understand if whenever these posts come up on social media, if a woman is like, oh, I got a newborn baby and I'm going through this, or I have a newborn baby and I'm going through that, and he's acting like this, and he did that, and he made me feel this way, and now I'm going through this. Now, I can understand that because, like I said, the stress levels are high, probably the highest they will ever be, unless something traumatic or tragic happens later in the child's life. But during this time, the earlier stages, yes. Yes, especially if you're a first time parents. You don't know what you're doing. He doesn't know what he's doing. You think you know what he should be doing. He thinks he knows what you should be doing, how you should be feeling, how you should be reacting. It's all these hypotheticals. If this is happening, then why aren't you doing this? Shouldn't you be? It turns into that. And that's what makes it hard at the beginning. So if I go on these posts, now I'm not commenting. I'm not saying anything about, oh, my son's dad is horrible or I'm not saying none of that stuff because I'm not in that place anymore. I would be lying if I just came out and said my son's dad is horrible right now in the year 2025. I would be lying. On this day, I would be lying based on what I know. And I'm going to tell y'all something. This is going to have to be another episode, but I'm going to tell you something. Once you get out of each other's business, each other's personal business, and just get into the parental business, it makes things easier too. You have to take yourself out of the equation as an individual and put yourself in the situation as a mother or a father. Because once you make it personal, it doesn't become about the kid anymore. Okay. So I just wanted to say that. Like I said, I'll try to turn that into another episode. Because I've told y'all before, if I switch subjects in the middle of a podcast episode, baby, there is no guarantee that I'm going back to what I was saying earlier. So I'm trying not to revert because that's what happened when I first started recording my podcast. And my cousin was listening and she was like, girl, you was doing so good. And then you got sidetracked and you never came back. So I'm going to stick on the subject at hand and then whatever else, that'll just have to be a separate episode because I get distracted. I'm trying to tell you, I get distracted. Then I get passionate about it. And again, I lose track. But I'm going to tell y'all what I've done. I'm going to get back on track, I promise. I'm going to tell y'all what I've done. Now I've gotten to where I have written hints or clues about what I need to mention during the episode. And as long as I stick by this list, I should not get too distracted. See, I wasn't doing that before. I was just talking, which is good too, because it's more natural. But I had to start writing stuff down so I can pick up where I left off. Okay. So what I was saying earlier was um whenever the men are doing what they're supposed to do in your eyes, because at this point, like I said, you've been parents for a few years, so something has to have changed for the better. No matter what better sounds like to you or what better sounds like to him, something has had to have gotten better within y'all's relationship with each other, right? So if the child is younger, some of what these women are saying can be very, very believable. But if your child is 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, You shouldn't still be telling the same stories unless that's something that you have been chasing. And some people like drama. Some people like to have something to complain about because that's what brings the most attention to their lives. So something should have gotten better unless you was chasing whatever wasn't going good. Okay. And I know because I didn't chase it and things got better for me. And I think that's just a testament to anybody who does it. It's not just, oh, I did it. Everybody should be able to do it. No, I did it and everybody should be able to do it. That's just all it is to it. But as your child gets older and things become different or better, then whenever you see a post like that come across, you might read the whole title to the post. You might go read the comments. You might read the responses to the comments, but it shouldn't trigger you to say, let me put a little something in here. Because at this point, you would have to dig deep for some mess. You would have to dig deep, go back a few years to even find a situation that matches theirs. But if you have to go back so far, it shouldn't even matter anymore. Like, why are you still talking about that? Now you've been dragged back into it. Remember earlier, I said it's encouraged. Now you've been pulled onto the bandwagon of let's tear these fathers down, and your child's father doesn't even match whatever is going on because y'all have made it past that. Hey, I just want to take a moment to pause for the cause and remind you all that the details for this episode are down below in the show notes. And also, my sponsor for this episode, which is A Cup of Stars Tarot, those details are below as well in case you want to get your own personalized tarot card reading. Or you can go ahead and join me on my social media pages and you can do the collective tarot card readings that we have weekly. All right, don't forget, look down below whenever they would ask the questions of what was going on and people would just fall into it. And so I don't fall into it anymore because again, I can't relate. But whenever they do that, it triggers the followers. And like I said, if you have to dig back a long way to find a story to go with that, then guess what? You are one of those people who are just following the trend. Monkey see, monkey do. Oh, they're gonna tear down their child's father. I'm gonna tear down my child's father too. Hold on, let me think of something. Um, oh, dang. Um, let me just make something up. And the problem with that is you comment on it and then you share the post and then people comment on your post and then somebody still say something better to you and it's just this cycle that keeps going and going. And then another problem with that is next year it's gonna come up on your memories and you're gonna do it again. And at some point you should be able to say, you know what? My child's father isn't that bad. Because sometimes you have to listen to yourself and listen to yourself right after you say something sounds just as good as when you said it. But when you listen to it a year later, or when you read something that you wrote a year later, it's like, you know what? He wasn't that bad last year neither when I typed it. Maybe I need to delete it. Or or I don't know what I need to do, but this is not how I feel now. Also, if the child's father has gotten better, something that I like to think is if this is a public post that is on social media, a social media platform that a lot of people use, what if my child's dad came up on here and saw it and was like, that's how she feel? Like I thought we were cooler than that. That's how I always feel about whenever I put stuff online about my son's dad or about our relationship or about my parenting or about my son. If they see it, how would they react? Now, I haven't seen my son's dad post anything about me online, but I hope that if he did, he would think, what if she saw this? How would she react? That's how I would want him. That's how I'd want him to feel about me. I don't know. I think it's fair. I think it's fair to think or take into consideration how the other person may feel if they see it. Right. But whenever I see stuff like that on Facebook, I'm glad that I can no longer relate to what a lot of these women are saying. But it still turns into a worse baby daddy contest. And there are people who shouldn't even be in the contest. And there are people who shouldn't even be reading the comments because it might trigger them. But some of these men are not as bad as single mothers make them sound. Some of these men are not that bad at all. It's just excuse me, it's just an ego trip from the woman. And yes, I feel like I'm qualified to say that it's an ego trip because you want to make yourself sound better. Now, with maturity comes the realization that the worst you try to make someone sound, you are actually making yourself sound bad, especially if you were talking about the father of your children. And especially if you have more than one child by this man, you're making yourself look bad because it took you two children to realize what kind of person he is. Now, you can have one child by somebody who makes you just want to call them every name in the world that's negative, but the fact that you're entertaining it and giving a whole lot of attention to this person, that still makes you look bad. So I had to realize if I'm going to make him look bad, I have to look forward to people looking at me like I'm the bad guy too, because it just happens sometimes. So I'm just saying all of that to say, do not get caught up in these things on social media or even in verbal conversations. If you are in an actual group, like a face to face group in a restaurant, in a room, in a setting where you all are talking and someone just happens to pour out their trauma or they want to dump their sadness onto you and they want you to be an empath, do not get sucked into the point where now you're sharing old, irrelevant stories and experiences. It's okay to be quiet. It's okay to not share. It's okay to not get involved. It's okay to say, I don't want to talk about this right now. Can we do something else? Am I the only person who doesn't want to do this? You can do that too, but just don't get sucked into it, into any contest that makes somebody else look bad that you've been dealing with, because the tables could turn. And here's the thing, whenever you do something to someone, you cannot tell them how to retaliate. So if you have a lot of skeletons in your closet that you want to stay in there, you better not get nothing started. Don't start none, won't be none. So that's all I wanted to say on this episode is don't be the bad guy in a story that you're not even supposed to be a character in. See, there I go coming up with stuff. There I go coming up with stuff off the top of my head. Because I didn't write that down. I just kind of blurted it out. It rolled off of my tongue. But anyway, that's my episode for today. I'm your host, Latasha, with Girlfriend. Let me tell you the podcast because I have something to say. And at the end of this episode, I want you to go to the show notes and I want you to go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know what you thought about the episode, what you think about the podcast, because I greatly, greatly appreciate y'all's continued support. Happy New Year to every last one of you.